Welcome back to the BXG thing. BXG podcast videocast vodcast.
But unique New York. Unique New
I
York.
am one of your hosts, Brenton Bestwick, the Alpha Donut guy, alongside my co-host Gregory T. Filson III, and the T stands for time.
Yeah, it does.
May or not be wasted.
Time being wasted.
The ring of power. The ring,
Yeah.
rings plural.
The rings
it's
of
every
power,
fucking
multiple
week.
rings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rings of power. And this episode occurred.
It happened
Friday, and we are here to talk about it and give our review of this episode.
We are indeed.
And some things happened in it. And
okay.
And other things didn't happen, as it were. Let's try to see here. I guess the main things that happened were that Galadriel was able to convince the Queen Regent to join her cause, primarily due to a vision from the Sauron stone. Saruman stone. How did he get his fingers like that? I could never understand.
He was a
marionette.
Lineman.
Oh,
he was an offensive lineman for a while. So
yeah,
you break your fingers in various ways. Yeah, that's part of like it's not fan fiction, but it's an off series from Tolkien that we don't know about. Yeah,
right.
Lords of the Gridiron.
I feel like that's a Sports Illustrated like movie, like home
I hope
movie.
So.
Yeah. I had Football Follies. Do you remember this? Like there was Football Follies.
Oh yeah.
I watched obsessively Super Bowl Sunday, the history of the Super Bowl.
Oh,
but it was only up to like the 85 Bears or something.
Oh yeah, back when men played football.
Oh.
Yeah, just men. Back when it was just a man's sport and you hit each other. And you could hit a wide receiver before he touched the ball, god damn it.
And there was steroids and
there were steroids and
it's a wonder
mustaches.
It's a wonder that Tom Brady didn't have more success in that era.
Yeah,
having been around since the dawn of time.
Since the dawn of time. True.
All right. What are we talking about?
Well, I mean, I think
Lord of the Cock Rings.
Lord of the Power, I think is what we call this.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings of Wasting Time.
So let's see here. Elrond and Doran shows him the discovery. As a matter of fact, it is not Marcellus Wallace's soul in the box, nor is it Gwyneth Paltrow's
It's not Gwyneth Paltrow. Disappointing.
Yeah. Yep, it's actually there. And it wasn't the rings. It was the discovery of Mithril.
Yeah, I thought it was going to maybe be a TV dinner too. There was a part of that. I thought TV dinner.
Yeah,
50s when these were written. So
there was that, and the orcs were after the young boy who has the blade of Sauron, and he gets saved by Jesus, what are these people's name?
Oh, I think he was saved by Jesus. We all have been saved by Jesus, Brent.
Arondir.
We have all been saved by Jesus. Don't forget that.
So, that's a whole other episode. Jokes,
but just saying we have been, and this is probably an allegory towards that. We've been saved by Jesus. Allegory for the Bible. Everything's an allegory for the Bible. All the books have been written.
All right, what do you think of this episode?
Okay, so this is what I'll say, and I know that I am known for saying, especially in this particular show, that nothing happens.
The Hobbits. I looked it up.
Yeah,
they're actually called Harfoots.
Harfoots. Yeah. I also saw this,
but I don't understand why it wouldn't be Harfeet.
Maybe a different language of origin.
Elvish.
So
Yeah, but they were not in this episode, the Harfords.
No, they weren't. And
neither was the stranger.
Honestly, neither
who
was,
at this point better
like
fucking be Gandalf.
Yeah, at this point better be. So
somebody.
I had sent to
Jeff.
I have a boat
I'm
behind
Jeff.
me.
I'm
Jeff. I have a boat behind me for both episodes. This was also nautical. This nautical scene was terrible. It looked awful, and it looked just absolutely terrible, which is insane. We talk about how much money they spend on this.
Yeah,
looks awful.
Most ever.
I watched this. Yeah, I watched this on my phone, so they wouldn't let me screenshot it. So I just took a yacht pic, and it looks better. This yacht pic, this just staged yacht pic, looks better than what they actually did as CGI. So I was like, okay, the Rings of Power, and I had sent a text talking about like a lot of the thing. The biggest problem I have with this show is it's overwritten, where they have this hour they need to fill, but they don't have an hour's worth of content. And so they just write. They just keep writing things. And a lot of the writing, they put things, but they also just do this. So don't say anything. Just stare at the camera. And that is the show. I counted, because I'm a psychopath now, having been a teacher for almost a year. I am now, I think, almost confirmed a psychopath. There was 47 seconds of just staring. No dialogue, just staring. And I could be off. It could have been longer. It's no way it's shorter. It's at least 47 seconds of staring. So that means someone got paid to put in the script, stare off into the wonder, stare off, whatever. And this is where this show's at now. I don't know where this is going. And then I did this, is I typed in Rings of Power writing. First article I got, and I will notate this, is from Forbes. It's from Eric Kahn, Eric with a K, Kane with a K, and he's the senior contributor. He writes about video games, entertainment, and culture. So you bet your ass I'm going to invite him on this show, because we're going to, hopefully he'll get on. He may. That'd be sick for us and sick for him. Be probably sicker for him.
Right.
Because he writes for Forbes magazine, and nobody is probably reading. Well, nobody's reading Forbes magazine for Lord of the Rings reviews. So
right.
He has a thing where it's called The Rings of Power has inexplicably, it's a hard word for me to say. Inexplicably. Yeah, I cannot say. It's just weird how you can't say certain words. Terrible writing. That's why I'm a writer and also co-host a podcast. So he goes on about it, and he just, I won't go into the whole thing, but his big idea is that essentially they build up a bunch of stuff, but there's nothing that happens. And this was another episode where, you see people doing things and then it just happens. It's like, let me get to the part where I will sort of get into it. But essentially, Galadriel's storyline is like, oh, I want to do this. And then she's like, I need an army. And then next scene, she has an army. And there's nothing to tell you why she has an army. There's nothing to say how she got this army. It's just, well, she has an army because, you saw those movies.
Yeah.
And so it's just very lazy. And I think that's the problem I have with this show, is that it's and this is sort of what I was going to say. I'll steal a little bit of what I was going to say. It's the shine of aluminum foil. Yes, aluminum foil is shiny. I can also get it for 99 cents. And I think this is where I'm at with this show is, yes, it looks most of the time cool unless they're on a boat, but it also has nothing to it. I will say most of the time we watch things, I get something out of it that's at least funny. I don't even have like a lot of comic fodder for the show because I just don't think there's anything to it. I think this is a show that was trying to ride off the success of those movies and the success of the books. And I don't think there's anything to it. I don't enjoy anything about it. I just want to get through it. I am Rings of Powering through.
I looked up real quick while you were talking some of the RT scores, and critically each episode it's ranged between 86 and 84. But the audience score, and part of this I will attribute to the likely review bombing based on the ire over the races of some of the people in
Oh,
the
sure.
show.
Yeah.
But it's not doing super great.
No, it isn't.
Audience score 39 on average. And again, there's some review bombing going on there. So I'm willing to assume what the actual score would be is probably with some margin of error between 55 and 65. Okay. But that's not good.
For this movie franchise,
For
is
this,
widely regarded as like 99% awesome to most people.
well, and I would be very curious to see what, and I don't know if this is something I can find. I'm gonna look real quick. What I'm looking for is Rings of Power viewership.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a excuse me. I know that the first episode was like a record, right? However, since then, I'm reading from the news, the international news, and it says that House of Dragons has 51% more viewership than
Oh, wow.
Lord of the Rings prequel. I mean, that's a lot, and I think that for the price tag, the fact that this is not doing well with audiences is a huge problem for Amazon. And I think that the likelihood that I believe that they went ahead and bought season 2 after the first episode.
Yep.
Or the first 2 episodes. No. Yeah, it was purchased for second season, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's supposed to begin production somewhat soon, but okay. So let me talk specifically about this episode and the problems I had with it.
Sure.
Number one,
it happened is the number one.
I think that for whatever reason between this and House of the Dragon, but it seems like water is really hard to make look realistic with CGI. With this being, the endless oceans that they're depicting in both of these shows, House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings, it just looks not good. And as I said last week or the week before, when you spend this much money on a show, $450 million on this show, it's unacceptable. It's purely unacceptable. The next major fundamental problem I had with this episode was the scene in which Arondir was saving the boy and running out of the woods into the field where there was light. The slow motion was an unnecessary amount of building tension in this particular episode, because this scene was almost like, it felt like it was almost shot for shot the scene from Fellowship of the Ring where Boromir gets. Yeah. And I actually was thinking to myself as I was watching it, I said, if he gets shot and goes the same way Boromir did, then what are these writers being paid for? It was like, it was frustrating. And the things, I try to find things that I like about the show, I like about the episodes, and it's just, even the things I like have things that I don't like attached to them. I really enjoy the kind of back and forth relationship of Doran and Elrond. Like, that's something that I actually look forward to a little bit in each episode. But I have a problem with Elrond's Dr. Oz face. And it makes it hard. I'm sorry. It makes it hard. I told you I know
Pennsylvania's
what.
Lord and Savior, Dr.
Oh, he's
Oz,
not
right?
even from Pennsylvania.
No, he is a piece of shit.
Neither here nor there, but that's what he looks
No.
like to me. Like
Yeah,
that's what I and I think on our first episode review, I said this. I know this guy's face, but I can't place it. And
Oh my God,
now
Brent. Now that's all I'm going to think about.
I can't unsee it.
Nope.
I
I can't
can't
unsee it
unsee
now
it.
either. Nope.
So that just kind of ruins that story arc for me. I just don't like, as you
It's
said.
also a boring story arc, so
Well,
that hurts it.
I like it though. I like the elf
Okay.
dwarf relationship. It's interesting to me. That's just my problem. Is there's no stakes because we know what happens.
No stakes, right?
We know what happens, and it's different from House of Dragons because we know where it eventually gets, but we don't know how it gets there. We know how it gets here. We know how it gets from this age and the story they're telling. They kill a Isildur who's in this as a young pup, and he hacks the ring off of Sauron's hand, and then it transfers and passes through and through and through until Bill. But we already know this.
Yeah.
It would have been far more interesting if they could have figured out a way to tell a story in this world that had nothing to do with the overarching.
Yeah.
And then, but then you ask yourself, is it Lord of the Rings? It's like, well, maybe the answer is that we just don't need more Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to do this, the problem is that this show is having a very difficult time, to me, justifying its existence, certainly justifying its price tag. Whereas I will say that the difficult task that this has is an uphill battle against House of Dragon, because within 2 episodes, House of Dragon has justified its existence. This is good.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
It's good. It's interesting, and it's fairly original. There's some catches here or there, or some hallmarks or some Easter eggs, or, oh, I've seen that dagger before, but it's not to the same. Like, this relies so heavily on the viewer having some basic knowledge of the world. And I don't think that it's just, I struggle with this show. I really enjoy Lord of the Rings. The movies.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoy. I enjoy the books. I didn't love the Hobbit movies as much, but I didn't hate them.
Sure.
And this is just a big bummer for me.
I think this is where I'm at with this. I think if they were going to do this, that this was the idea, it should have been a movie. And because there's too much going on, and I think they could have just I honestly think they could have, because for literally, Brenton, 45 minutes, there's not a lot happening. And if you take segments of these episodes, and there's 8 of these, you take 15-minute segments of each episode, that's 2 hours and 15 minutes of a movie. And all it is stuff happening then. And whether it's good or whether it's like Lord of the Rings style, like that good, which is hard because the final movie of the Lord of the Rings did win Best Picture. And it's a fantasy picture, and fantasy pictures do not often win Best Picture.
Right.
So it's like, when you put yourself to that high of a standard, there's also that where, everyone makes fun of that epilogue that goes on forever. But that movie's awesome, except for the cheating. The cheating's not awesome, and then the epilogue is not awesome. But the rest of the movie is essentially awesome.
I feel,
but the cheating's fun. The cheating's fun.
I've always felt like The Two Towers is better than Return of the King.
Well, Two Towers is the best movie of those, but I'm just saying that I'm basing it off of the Two Towers is the best of those. I've also heard, I've never read the books. I'm sorry, everyone. I've heard Two Towers is the best book. I've heard Two Towers is the best book for many people. The books are like, and this is quite honestly, how some of these pictures and this television show wind up like this, is that Tolkien has a really weird writing style.
where occasionally he's extremely detailed and like over the top.
He'll tell you how
descriptive.
like the chair sits in the room, but then he'll like gloss over a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like there's a character
That's
in
an English writer circa 1935 to
yeah.
1978. That's literally how that
There's a
works.
character in Lord of the Rings that's named Tom Bombadil, and Tom Bombadil could have taken the ring from Frodo and just taken care of all of it, but he just didn't fucking feel like it. Like he just wanted to
No,
sing
I get
elf
that.
songs. You know what I mean? And thankfully
Who
that
hasn't been
character
there?
wasn't included in the films. But so these books are kind of, to borrow a phrase from the English at that time, these books are kind of written in a queer way, right? It's
Sure.
just
Yeah.
that, and then how it comes across. I think here's what I think that the real issue is here is that this is missing the watchful eye and careful hand of Peter Jackson. Whereas I think with the movies, he did a tremendous job of sifting through and saying, okay, we don't need Tom Bombadil because that's weird and kind of doesn't make sense. So we're just going to cut that. And whereas I think that he did a good job of balancing humor and action and the tender moments and all of that. This is just, there's no reason for this show to be so goddamn serious.
No, it's so serious. I think if Peter Jackson's involved, these episodes are 35 minutes.
Oh no, they're somehow 135 minutes.
No, what I mean, they're episodes though. He would understand the craft. It's 35-minute episodes, but there's 13 of them.
You understand, excuse me, you understand
there's 13.
He made a 330-page book into a 9-hour saga.
He's taking something from nothing though, and then literally making it.
Well, this isn't from nothing though. This is the same as a lot of the extra stuff in the Hobbit movies, where it's a lot of the appendices, the Silmarillion.
Well, I understand that, but what I mean is like he's taking stuff that like not a lot of people know about.
Sure.
And then
yes, okay, I can agree.
But if it's 13 episodes of 35 minutes of just him doing this, it's great. I think this is probably great because you cut the fat, but there's so much fat on this.
Yeah.
It's the idea of like a good steak. It's like you want to have a good marbling, but you don't want to have too much fat on it.
Yeah, I agree. And this was part of what we talked about like why he couldn't be involved and different things like that. But you check out our other episode reviews for that. I can't remember if it's in 1 or 2. I think it's in 1 in the episode of 1 and 2. But we'll see. We're gonna keep watching, and
we'll keep watching. I'll be honest.
It gets better.
Let me ask you a question, Brian. Honest question. If we weren't doing this for this, would you keep watching?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I would too.
Yeah,
I honestly would too. Because I'm a masochist though, so that's probably part of it. So
maybe. If you like the review, leave us a like, subscribe. If we did our job well, ring the bell. If you didn't like our review and you
like
give
you're
us
on a boat, like you're on a yacht, and you need food service. You just ring that bell. You're like, bell hop here. Oh, couldn't I have some more?
Thanks for watching.